All right, I think we're live. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. If this is the first time we're meeting, my name is Oliver and I'm a master's student in economics at Aalto University here in Finland. And on this channel we talk about education and early career development, specifically here in Finland. So if you are new here, do consider subscribing. So during these weekly live Q&As, I basically answer all of your questions about studying, living and working in Finland. And how these live streams work is that in the description box below, I have a link to a Google form. And if you want me to answer any of your questions live, please post your question into the Google form below. That way I will have all the questions in front of me here on the computer, and I will be able to go through all the questions in a first come first served basis. If you post your question into the live chat on YouTube, I will most likely miss your question, so you have been warned. What is up? Yes, awesome to have you here once again. Welcome to the stream. Just let me know super quickly. No, not at all saying that, sorry. Don't say sorry for forgetting it was stream day. I almost forgot myself. Just let me know quickly, how is the audio? Is it okay? I actually got a new mic, so I'm still testing it out. If I need to put it, put the audio a bit down or upwards, just let me know. Anyways, once again, if you have any questions that you would like me to answer live, let me know in the Google form below. Before we start with the first question, let me just super quickly link the live stream to our Discord server. And if you for some reason are not yet a member of our Discord server, I really recommend that you consider joining. The idea of the server is to build a community of people interested in studying and working in Finland. And in the server, I post updates about future videos and live streams, and we have a bit more, personal discussion. In addition, because the server is growing quite fast, people are actually helping each other with, for example, university application related questions, which is awesome. Anyways, while we're waiting for people to come in, let me just jump in to some of the questions that I wasn't able to answer last week. And the first one comes from Niklas Hagenbeck, who comes from Germany. Guten Tag, or actually Guten Abend. And Niklas is applying to do a master's at Aalto University next year. And the question is, currently, I have a student job in Germany, which I plan to keep when studying in Finland. Do you have any experience with double taxation in such a case? That's a great question, Niklas. Thank you for posting the question here, as well as to, I think, one of the comments on the channel, as well as to the Discord server. So what Niklas is referring here, if you don't know what double taxation is and how taxation actually works, is basically if you work in another country and then you actually reside in another. Usually double taxation means a case where you basically are taxed in both of those countries. Because you reside in one, you would obviously need to pay taxes there, but because you are then working you are working for a company in another country, most likely that country is also going to want you to pay taxes there as well. So thus double taxation, which is not nice. And in this case, I think either the European Union or Finland and Germany together as individual countries should have some kind of a tax agreement, which means that double taxation should be avoided. So basically, if you live in Finland, but you work for a company which is in Germany and you have your job employment contract in Germany, you will pay taxes to one of these countries, not yet sure which one. What I do recommend here, because I'm not a tax expert in any way, shape or form, what I recommend you to do if you have a similar question regarding any country, is to first contact the tax administrator of your country of residence, and then contact the tax administrator of Finland. And they will be able to sort you out with these kind of specific questions, because this is country dependent or specific. So this does not apply. The same rules do not apply for each country. Also, just one thing to note, I do know that some countries do have, even though some countries do have tax agreements, that does not mean that you don't have to pay anything to Finland or vice versa. So for example, if you work in another country or for a company in another country, but you reside in Finland, you might still need to pay, for example, your pension payments and, for example, your healthcare payments in Finland. So you will still be double pay. You will still have some double costs anyways. But again, please contact a tax administrator about this, just to make sure. Before we continue any further, Zaman, Siddiq, welcome, sir. Awesome to have you here. Actually, please just call me Oliver. We like to keep things quite informal here in Finland. Utsma, Safar, awesome to have you here as well. Evgenia, welcome back to the stream. Hopefully you had a great week. Aditya, what's up, dude? Awesome to have you here as well. First of all, thank you so much for becoming a member. I'm not sure if I actually noticed it last week, but I do appreciate it. That's awesome. And I will start posting behind the scene videos to the community tab on the YouTube channel later this week or next week. I already have a couple of clips, but I just haven't edited them together. So I will start posting there more like behind the scenes kind of stuff. Evgenia saying, hey to all. Hello, what's up? And Aditya saying, done with all the applications. It was a lot of stress and now waiting for results. I totally get you. I totally would know what you mean. When I applied to school myself back in 2012, I had to wait for, 4 months? For the results. It's not nice. It's almost more stressful to actually wait for the results than the actual application process. So I totally get you. Rifat, what's up? Welcome to the stream. I'm actually doing quite well. Don't worry, my throat is just a bit sore. I'm completely fine. I'm not sick. I just need to drink some fluids. Also, sorry about my somewhat inconsistent uploads. And for example, this week I uploaded this week's video a bit late. I've been working on my master's thesis that I'm trying to get done as fast as possible. So I've been a bit all over the place. All right. Rifat also saying that I've completed around 6 applications. Now the nervous waiting begins. The same thing here. I totally get you. Anyways, guys, if you have any questions, especially now that the application period for 2021 is done, if you have any questions about the actual admission process or the results or what to do afterwards, just fire away. Let me know in the form, and I'll jump back into the questions. Aaron, what's up? Welcome back to the stream again, guys. If you have any questions, just put them in the Google form. Actually, there's not that many questions there right now, so if you want to have your question answered, there's a really good chance for getting that done today. Anyways, the next question comes from Tanzir from Bangladesh, and Tanzir has not yet decided whether or not she wants to study in Finland, but is interested in doing a high school diploma in Helsinki, and then looking at the field of tourism and hospitality. And the question is there any opportunities and possibilities for tourism students or tourism graduates? Which university should I choose for tourism? And which city is most affordable for international students to live in and to study in? Great questions. There's quite a lot of stuff here, so let's break this down. So first of all, to the question, are there any opportunities for students who have a degree in tourism in Finland? And in tourism and hospitality is usually the combination. Absolutely yes. So of course, not only can you work in Finland, but that kind of a degree would also allow you to work abroad as well. So you would not only be confined to Finland, even though, we would of course like you to stay here. So yeah, absolutely. Of course, the current COVID situation might not, make things look that positive for the tourism industry. But we are going to come back to normal, somewhat normal at some point, and global tourism is going to have a spike, especially when people start traveling again. There's going to be a huge spike at some point. So absolutely yes. Then of course it depends on what you want to do. Do you want to actually be a tourist guide, or do you want to work in a hotel? Do you want to work in a managerial position? Do you want to be in the service development sector, like actually developing different tourism tourist experiences, or what? That's really hard to say for me. Of course, different opportunities, or the amount of opportunities, of course, depends on what kind of speciality or branch of tourism and hospitality you want to work in. So. But yeah, definitely there are opportunities. Then the question, which university should I choose for tourism studies? That's actually a really good one. Let me do a really quick Google search. Just let me check. I think some... all right, there's at least 3 places that I can recommend to you. So the university or the Lapland University of Applied Sciences, or Lapin AMK, that's one. They have a Bachelor's of Hospitality Management in Tourism. And then there's a degree, Bachelor's of Hospitality Management and Tourism Management from this is JAMK, University of Applied Sciences. So basically JAMK, University of Applied Sciences. So that's 2. And then there's one that is really good that I know is from Haaga-Helia, which is University of Applied Sciences in the Helsinki region. Let me see. Just a moment. But yeah, so Haaga-Helia has a degree, a bachelor's degree in hospitality, tourism, and experience management. So I think these 3 are definitely, schools that you should consider. Then the question about what is the most affordable city for international students, that I cannot answer. Helsinki is the most expensive one, of course, as the capital. Anything that is outside of Helsinki. But, of course, the prices will depend surely on the city. But the prices and, the cost of living for you is mostly going to depend on your own living expenses and, living habits. So if you like to drink a lot, it's going to be expensive. If you don't drink, you don't smoke, and you don't spend that much money on partying and food and such, or travel, then you're going to live anywhere, basically. But of course, the biggest singular cost is going to be your rent. Welcome to everyone who has just joined. We have Abinash, welcome to the stream. We have Rifat, welcome to the stream. Pamela, Grace, awesome to have you here as well. And we have Homicidal Chimpanzee once again. And Ermek, welcome to the welcome to the stream. And then we have Muhaimin Topu, welcome to the stream. Muhaimin, just to let you know, if you want me to answer your questions live, please post your questions into the Google form that I have linked in the description box below. So go below the video to the description box, go all the way down the description box, and you can see 2 yellow exclamation marks. Between them, there is a link to a Google form. And post your question there, because then I will have all the questions here in front of me on the computer, and I will be able to answer every single question in a first come, first serve basis. If you guys post your questions into the live chat, I'm most likely going to miss them. So just to let you know. All right. The next question comes from, again, Fleischmann ES. And the question is, or as a reminder for everyone, Fleischmann is from Hungary and still high school, but looking to do a bachelor's and a master's, of course, at Aalto University, maybe. and specifically in the field of computer sciences. And the question is, in your video about Edunation, you know, guys, if you haven't seen, I actually posted 2 different videos about Edunation. One this week on Wednesday and one last week on Tuesday. So basically January 20th and then January 13th if you're watching this on replay. And in those videos, I talked about Edunation, which is a service from Finland, which basically offers an alternative route to apply to study in Finland, so that you don't have to use the joint or separate applications that you have to fill in normally. But yeah. Anyway, the question in your video about Edunation, you said that a document explaining the credit system is needed. Is that the same if I do my bachelor's in Finland? No. If you do your bachelor's in Finland and then you apply for a master's program I'm sorry. Yes. So if you do, if you apply through Edunation, no matter whether you do apply for a bachelor's or a master's. So no matter whether you apply as a high school graduate or a bachelor's graduate, you still have to, you know, include some kind of information or a document explaining the credit system. So in the example that I gave this week, so yesterday in the tutorial, I actually didn't have any kind of a document, but rather I actually had a credit system table that was posted on the New York University, NYU's website. And that basically would be enough to explain the credit system. So you don't necessarily need a official document. You simply need some kind of a system to explain the credit system. Why this is for everyone else is because Edunation, again, it's a service offering a separate way of applying to study in Finland. They actually go through your application before the university itself goes through them. And because credit systems vary between different schools and countries all across the world, and you have to basically give them tools to, you know, change your previous grades from your home country into something that we use here, right? So that's why you need to explain the credit system when you apply. Excuse me. The next question comes from Jesse, again from France. And Jesse is already in Finland studying at TAMK, University of Applied Sciences, doing a bachelor's in business. And actually, did I get this last week? I'm not sure. Anyways, the question is, hi Oliver, I'm a British citizen and I've been living in France for 7 years. Following the Brexit, I applied for a residence permit and I expect to receive results for that next month. The problem is the application period is ending before I receive it, and there is no option for me to prove that I have applied for a EU citizenship in the form. I have sent an email to several universities I'm applying, and they have always redirected me to the website in which they detail who is exempt from paying tuition fees. Would they accept my proof of EU citizenship after the end of the application period? Meaning, I will send them my residence permit before the beginning of my studies, or will I have to pay the fees? This is a really good question. To be honest, I don't know. I do not know. So the problem here is that Brexit is a complete mess, and its impact on studies in Finland, and especially on the application process, it's all over the place. And the only sources that I would trust at all are, you know, university websites. I think most of the universities in Finland have at least some kind of an FAQ page about Brexit. And they are, because universities in Finland are regulated, at least to somewhat, by the Ministry of Education. They basically get their instructions for Brexit from the Ministry of Education, as I've understood it. Don't quote me on this. And this means that they know as much as the Ministry of Education lets them know, and they will most likely post everything that they know about the known implications on their website. However, the problem is that this is all over the place. There's 1,000 different questions that still are need to be answered. And unfortunately, I haven't actually updated myself on the regulation or on the rules in a while. So unfortunately, I don't know. What I really recommend you to do is to look at the university website, or if your school for some reason doesn't have such a page, then look up, for example, Aalto University Brexit FAQ page. They should have something, and the same rules should apply to all schools. So you should apply to all schools. I would recommend that you proceed this way. All right, let's see. The next question comes from Fleischmann, yes, again. And there's a couple here. And the first one is, what is the Finnish credit system like? Great question. Let me show you. Just a moment. Just a moment. Let me know if you didn't get it, but I think this is the best explanation that there is. Guys, you can't. Oh, you can't hear me. Rawr. Let me know. Guys, can you actually hear you? Can you hear me? Can you actually hear me? Some people are saying that you cannot hear me, and some people say you can. No, you can. Wait, what? All right, that's weird. Got it. All right, sorry guys. Just a second. I'll change the settings super quickly. All right, can you hear me now? I think you should be able to hear me now. Yeah, all right. All right, cool. All right, I had my settings set up a bit wonkily, so I'll try to explain this once more. All right, and I would ask everyone to keep the chat clean. There's not going to be any kind of bullying or any kind of nasty behavior in the chat. I do I do ban people for, especially if there's any kind of racist connotations or in the discussion in the chat. So just letting everyone know. Anyways, the question was about credits in Finland. Sorry about the muting. Basically, what I explained here was the credit system in Finland. So basically, to summarize, so that we don't have to go through this all over again, one credit in Finland is 27 hours approximately. It's a general guideline. It doesn't apply to every single course. A bachelor's is 180 credits, and a master's is 120 credits, and then that's in total 300 credits, which means that in one academic year, you should choose 60 credits. And since one academic year is split into 5 different periods, you should basically do 12 credits per period, meaning that you should do at least 2 or 3 courses per period in order to hit this 60 credit per year mark. There. All right. And by the way, guys, I'm not reading the comments while I'm explaining something, because I have the comments here, and then I have the questions here, and then if I'm looking at anything or explaining anything, then if you want to the best way to actually get my eyes to pop back into the comments is to ping me, because I'm going to see that in red. So just letting you know. Let me just a moment. All right, just let me clean up the chat a bit. All right. Just letting everyone know, I'm sorry. Sorry that I have to do this. I want to answer people's questions during these streams, but I do not tolerate any kind of any discussion that has a connotation of being racist. Milky Daddy was not behaving, so he's now banned. So just letting everyone know. I really don't care about this kind of behavior. So. Doesn't matter if it's funny to someone, but I don't tolerate that kind of stuff. This is I want this to be a inclusive environment, and we are talking about international people. The cultures differ, people's opinions differ on different kind of things. People have questions that other might see as funny or simple, because there's so many different things, and that's only because there's so many different things that you need to take into account. So yeah, anyways, let's get back into the questions. I hate doing this kind of stuff. Anyways, the second question from ES was basically, what are the requirements for getting admitted to a Finnish university as an international student? Depends on the university, depends on the program. It's impossible for me to say. You have to read the specific requirements for each program individually on the university websites. How I recommend that you do this is that first you figure out what you want to study. So basically the field. Then based on that, you basically start looking for different schools that teach that field. Then when you have found those schools, look at their degree programs or the application websites and check out the individual requirements for each of the programs that you might be applying to. Remember, the requirements do not only vary between universities, but they also vary between degrees. So inside Aalto University, the requirements to apply to different programs are going to vary a bit. So then after that, you have to remember that the minimum requirements to get admitted to somewhere, to any place, and to get granted a scholarship, basically change every single year, because in Finland, university admissions are done in a competitive basis, meaning that only the best candidates are admitted every single year, and because of the level of candidates changes every single year, that also means that the minimum requirements will change somewhat. So if you hear, for example, on Reddit or somewhere that, okay, the minimum requirements to get in here, for example, for the minimum SAT points is X, don't believe it, because that is either old information or false information. The only information that you should believe is what the universities themselves publicize on their websites, and even that might be old because they update them every single year. Cool. All right. Then number 3, do you think life in Finland is awesome or good? Yes, it's awesome. Not only is this is a safe country, it's also Finland has a very well-functioning society. For example, the whole COVID case has actually shown how well our society functions. The healthcare system, school system, the government, everything works really, really well. Of course, there's always political discussions, but we usually pull together on the same rope. So yeah, absolutely. I think that the nature in Finland is lovely, even though we don't have massive waterfalls and we don't have Eiffel Towers. It's a bit more plain, but it's still lovely. Also, water, the quality of water, air, food here is awesome. People are helpful, etc. So I would recommend anyone to come here. Yeah. Anyways, next question comes from, and I'm sorry, I'm going to butcher your name. There's way too many consonants here. Kurel Suk. Close, hopefully. Close enough. Anyway, Kurel Suk comes from Mongolia. Awesome. Welcome to the stream. Awesome to have someone from Mongolia here. Anyways, he has not yet decided whether or not he wants to study in Finland, but is interested in the Linus Torvalds University for a bachelor's in engineering. Awesome. By the way, if you don't know who Linus Torvalds is a Finnish guy who is the father of Linux, the Linux system. So if you didn't know, Linux is actually from Finland. So the Linux operating system is basically from Finland. So yeah, there. There's a couple of questions here. Let's go through them one by one. Number 1, is it compulsory to learn Finnish? No, you don't have to learn Finnish. If you want a citizenship, then you need to learn either Finnish or Swedish to a certain level, but that is not going to be in relevant for at least a while. But yeah, for studies, it's not, unless you apply for a program that specifically requires you to speak Finnish. In order to do well here, no, you do not have to speak Finnish. However, it's always going to help you with your day-to-day life, etc. Number 2, do international students have working permits, or do they get them? International students who come to study in Finland full-time are allowed to work alongside their studies. If you are a European Union citizen, which you are not, apparently, I'm sorry. If you are a European Union citizen, you can work in Finland alongside your studies without any kind of restriction. So you can work as much as you want. However, if you're not a European Union citizen, then you can work for 25 hours per week on average while you're studying, meaning that while studying means when classes are taught. So during holidays, Christmas holiday, and for example, the summer holiday, during those holidays, you can work as much as you want without any restrictions. However, during the academic year when classes are taught, you can work for 25 hours per week on average, and the average is measured per semester. So during the spring semester, you can work for 25 hours per week on average, meaning that 1 week you can work for 25 weeks, and the second, 30, then in the next week, 20, etc., as long as it averages out on 25. Good question. 3, comparing to Germany, what advantages does Finland have? Difficult question for me to answer. I've lived in Germany only for 6 months. Depends on what kind of things you're looking at. Germany has many, things that are good for them. Then Finland has some things that we do better here. I would need a more specific question in order to give you some kind of a concrete answer. Then number 4, can I study a bachelor's program in English? Yes, definitely you can. There's specifically, depending on the degree that you want to do, and depending on the field you want to study. So, for example, you're interested in engineering. There's a bunch of different engineering programs in English. So, absolutely, yeah. Rifat, thanks for helping out the others in the chat as well. Yeah, definitely. I've already missed like 1/3 or half of the chat. So I do apologize if and when I'm going to miss your question, because I will if you post them into the live chat. So if you have just joined us, welcome. Welcome to the weekly Q&A stream. So if this is the first time you're here, usually on the channel we talk about education and early career development in Finland. And during these weekly live Q&As, I answer your questions about living, studying, and working in Finland. And how this works is that I have a Google form linked in the description box below, between 2 yellow exclamation marks. And if you have a question that you would like me to answer live, please post your question between in the Google form, because then I will have them here in front of me. The live chat gets really busy at times, and I will miss your questions if you post them into the chat. Anyways, the next question comes from Abhinash Nayak, who comes from India and is applying to do a master's in chemistry this upcoming application period. And the question is, hi there, do you know anything about the University of Eastern Finland, Joensuu campus? I have applied for a master's program in research chemistry. What is the scenario for part-time jobs there? Good question. I have never been to Joensuu campus myself. My brother actually studies there. He's doing his PhD in biology there. He also has studied his bachelor's and master's in biology in the University of Eastern Finland, specifically on the Joensuu campus. And his personal experience was that there were not that many jobs there in that field, unless you do an internship for the university. Most of the jobs in the industry, depending on your industry, of course, are in the bigger cities. So, for example, in chemistry, there's a bunch of jobs that you could get in Helsinki, for example. So what I recommend you to do, if you need to work alongside your studies, I would look for some other kind of a job, instead of trying to look for a job in your field, specifically in Joensuu. I'm not saying that there are no jobs in Joensuu for chemistry students, but it's harder to find them, or more difficult. However, during the summer, so if you basically live in Joensuu, study there full time, but during the summer, you should move to Helsinki and apply for a job here, or apply for a summer job in Helsinki area or in some of the other bigger cities where they actually have companies in your field, and then move there for the summer. Sublend your student apartment in Joensuu for the summer, so you don't have to pay the costs, and you should be fine. I think this is the best way to do it. Utsma, don't worry, I will get to everyone's questions. Just hold on. There's a bunch of questions already in the form. It will take me time to get to everyone's questions. If you want to speed up the answering, if you want to get your question answered right away, you can always pitch in and actually use the super chat, and all super chats will always go in front of the queue, and I will answer those questions first. The super chats under the live stream live chat box, you can actually see a small box where there is a $sign. So if you want me to answer your question right away, then you can use a super chat. If not, you just have to wait until I get to your question. There's already a bunch. That's why I recommend everyone to be as fast as possible in the beginning of the stream to post your question so that I will be able to answer them. Anyways, the next question comes from Turjo, who comes from India and is applying to Aalto University to do a master's in computer sciences. And the question is, do most students studying in Aalto reside in student halls or residence in the beginning, or do they have to find accommodation on their own terms? So great question. I think there might be some kind of a mix. I think we might be using a bit of different terminology here. So Aalto University, nor any of the other universities in Finland, none of them actually have any kind of student apartments. Universities in Finland don't have any kind of, apartments that they provide to students. All student apartments in Finland are either from private entities that rent student apartments or apartments specifically for students, non-profits that are usually owned by student organizations, for example, HOAS in the Helsinki region. And then third one is student unions in Finland have their own apartments, many of them. For example, Aalto University Student Union, or AYY, the abbreviation, they have student apartments on the campus, and you can apply for one of their apartments that you can rent for X amount of years. Some might have restrictions, some might not. However, the queues for those apartments are really long, so you need to apply for them the second that you know that you have been admitted. Then, second, for example, in your case, I would recommend that you apply for HOAS apartments. Let me know if I'll just show you. HOAS, by the way, which is one of the sponsors on the channel. They're not affiliated with this live stream, so hashtag not sponsored. But HOAS is the biggest student apartment provider in the Helsinki capital region, and basically any university student in the Helsinki capital region can apply for their apartments. They are actually a non-profit, and they're owned by students. They're actually owned by student organizations. So I've been living there in their apartments throughout my studies, and I've been extremely happy. They're really affordable, in good places, in good conditions, and they have really good services. So yeah. So there's that question. But yeah, all students have to rent apartments on their own terms. The university will not help you do that at all. Again, there's no dormitories, for example. We don't have dorms where you have like 5 people living in the same room or, on bunk beds. That doesn't happen in Finland. In Finland, we all basically everyone has their own room in their own apartment if they have. We don't have, dorms like you have in the US, for example. All right, now we're getting to Uzma's question. So Uzma Safar from India asking, is applying for a PhD position at the University of Helsinki in criminology and psychology. Cool. That's actually really interesting. And the question is, I wish to study doctorate at the University of Helsinki in criminology. Would I be able to get in easily? And would I be able to meet my expenses if I do have a part-time job? These are extremely difficult questions for me to answer. First of all, I cannot comment almost anything on the question about getting admitted to a PhD program. First of all, I don't have any personal experience in PhD programs, so that's why I usually don't talk about them too much on my channel. I will do videos about PhDs in the future, but I need to research that way more. The one thing that I can say is that the University of Helsinki is the leading research university in Finland, and it is not going to be easy to get in. You need very good academic records, and you need to have a good background in order to get to the University of Helsinki. And then to the question, would I be able to meet my expenses if I have a part-time job? So actually, PhD positions in Finland are considered as jobs, so you need to actually finance your own research, or not fully. So some universities actually have grants and different kind of financing systems for their PhD students. So basically, for example, if I remember correctly, don't quote me on this, I think that Aalto University funds their PhD students for the first year of their PhD research. After that, you need to start financing on your own, meaning that you have to apply for different grants and scholarships that different funds and non-profit organizations actually grant to, basic research. So that's basically, doing a PhD is basically your job. And yes, you need to have the funds to actually finance the research. And the university will help you to some extent. Again, not sure how much. But yeah, that's the only thing that I can say here because, again, I don't have any personal experience. Yevgenia, thank you so much for the usual coffee bank deposit. Thank you very much. That is actually going into the piggy bank. There you go. Think. What Yevgenia is referring to is I usually put my all the super chats into my coffee fund because I need some coffee to stay awake. By the way, fun fact the fun fact of the day: Finnish people, as a nation, we drink the most coffee in the entire world. There, now you're smarter. Anyway, Yevgenia, thanks so much. I appreciate it as always. Cool. The next question comes from Mr. G. Mr. G comes from the USA and is applying to do a bachelor's in business at a university of his choice. And the question is, if scholarships are not an option for me, is it possible to take a loan from a Finnish bank for my tuition and living costs? Great question. Unfortunately, I'm not able to give you an answer here because this would depend on the bank, and this would depend on your credit rating. This would depend on your most likely your family background, especially since I would guess that you're a high school graduate if you're planning on doing a bachelor's. So you would not have a prior degree. Getting a loan would always depend on your personal background and whether the bank actually sees that you are a viable customer for a loan, whether you're able to pay it back, basically. However, one of the biggest problems here is that Finnish banks are allowed to decline a customer, they're especially very about international customers who come here for a temporary basis. So meaning that even though if you tell them that, okay, you are going to do a degree here for 5 years, so bachelor's 3 plus master's 2, and then you want to work here afterwards, that is most likely not enough for them because the loan you would have to take is going to be such a large loan that you're not going to be paying it back in 5 years. So if you after graduating here, you move out of country, that's not optimal for the bank. So it is highly likely that in these cases they are not, that positive about it. Hard to say. Really hard to say. What I would say here is that the best option for anyone in terms of paying your tuition fee is getting a scholarship. And in your case, if you are a high school student, that means that you need to really, 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 use your sitting muscles and study hard. If you haven't already done your high school finals, focus on them super hard, study like hell, and get as good grades as possible, because then that will be, will get you a, better chances of getting a scholarship, because it is the best option for you in the long term. What's up, Warrior Mage? Welcome to the stream. Interesting question asking, do I buy Bitcoins? No, and I will not give any advice on personal finances or investing other than I do not touch cryptocurrency. Not because I do not understand them, but because they're so volatile, simply. Let's not go into this topic because it's such a polarizing topic, and most people don't actually understand it at all. Anyways, the next question comes from Fang Ming. I'm sorry for mispronouncing your name. Who is from China? Welcome. I think you're actually the first Chinese person on the stream. Awesome. Really cool to see that we have such an international audience. That's awesome. Welcome. Anyways, Fang Ming is applying to the University of Helsinki to do a master's in linguistics data science. What is that? That sounds really interesting. I have no idea what that actually is. If you want to explain, Fang Ming, if you want to actually explain to me in the chat, what is linguistics data science? I would actually like to hear. Sounds really, really interesting. Anyways, his question is, hello, I have submitted several applications, and if I get permitted, I am planning to apply for a student's accommodation. And here's my question. Is it allowed to keep, am I allowed to keep a pet in a student apartment? Great question. The answer here is that this depends on the apartment and the provider. In your case, for example, two options for you would be, in terms of apartments, would be number one, HOAS. So it's the biggest apartment provider in the Helsinki region. HOAS is actually partly owned by Helsinki students of the University of Helsinki. So, and it's a non-profit. The second option is to apply for apartments that are actually owned by the University of Helsinki Student Union, or HYY. What I do know is that HYY or HY in Finnish, they are a bit more strict about pets in their apartments. They do have some, I think, where you are allowed to have a pet. However, if I were you, I would actually apply for HOAS apartments. For example, we have a dog with my girlfriend, and we can have a pet in our apartment. I know that there are some HOAS apartments where pets are not allowed, but in the majority of them, I think they are actually allowed. So HOAS is definitely for you. Again, if you have not seen my videos on the topic, hoas.fi, so HOAS.fi. These guys are the biggest apartment provider for students in the Helsinki capital region, so definitely check them out. They are a sponsor on the channel, not sponsoring this stream, hashtag not sponsored, but I love them. I've been living in their apartments throughout my studies, so I'm happy to promote them in any way I can. Cool. So linguistics of data science is related to natural language processing, statistical analysis on linguistics. All right, didn't understand a word what you said. Related to natural language processing, statistical analysis on linguistics. Sounds really really fancy. No idea what that means. Interesting. Cool. I'm just a humble business student, so I wouldn't understand. Anyways, the next question comes from Mohaimin Topu, who comes from Bangladesh and is applying to Aalto University to do a bachelor's in anything related to computers. Nice. And the question is, how difficult is it to earn 2,000 euros per month by doing a part-time job? Is it nearly possible, or is it normal? As I have the privilege to work around about 100 hours per month, so it's about 20 euros per hour. Yeah, so actually this is not fully true. So let me show you. Just a moment. Just a moment. All right. So what I recommend you to do is to check out, lovely face, check out this video. Can you pay for the university tuition fees with part-time work in Finland? You can find this video on the channel, and I will also share this video to the chat. In this video, I basically go through the math actually in Excel, as you can see here, on whether or not you can actually pay for your tuition on a part-time salary. And I know that you cannot see it here properly, but basically what you would need is you would need to have at least a 20 euro per hour salary from a part-time job in order to pay for your tuition fee, depending on what the tuition fee is. Especially considering that you are coming to study a bachelor's degree in Finland. So I would assume that you have a high school diploma, but you don't have a previous degree. That means that this is not possible. It's simply not realistic to think. So 20 euros pre-tax as an hourly wage is more than many companies pay for bachelor's graduates, depending on the field. So I think my first job that paid me more than 20 euros was maybe, I think I had studied for 3 years or so, 3 or 4 years. I was in my master's studies, I think, already when I was paid that much. So unfortunately, it's not possible to earn 2,000 euros per month by doing part-time work with 100 hours per month. It's simply not possible, unfortunately. And especially if you consider like 2,000 euros after tax, because that means that you would need to earn what, 3,200 euros pre-tax. It's not realistic, unfortunately. Yeah, cannot say anything more about this. The next one, by the way, guys, if you're just joining us, I see that people are posting questions into the chat. So if you're just joining us, first of all, if you're joining us for the first time, welcome. My name is Oliver, and I'm a master's student in economics in Finland. And we normally on this channel we talk about education and early career development in Finland. So if you are new here, do consider subscribing. Also, if you guys are actually getting value out of this stream and the content that I have on the channel, please smash the like button. We're currently in 16 likes. It would be awesome to get to 25 likes within the next half an hour. And if you have a question that you would like me to answer live, please post your question into the Google form that I have in the description box below. The reason for this is that the chat gets extremely busy and it's impossible for me to follow along all the questions there. Instead, if you post your question into the form, I get them in front of me here on the computer, and I will be able to go through them on a first come, first serve basis. So yeah, awesome. Anyways, the next question comes from Abhinash, who's from India and starting school this semester at, again, master's in chemistry at the University of Eastern Finland. And the question is, I have already completed, relating, I guess, to the previous question about jobs, I have already completed my master's from Indian Institute of Technology. Is it possible to get into a master's program in Finland? I am asking because I'm already a master's graduate, but I got interested in a research chemist program at UAF. I'm so enthusiastic about it, although I have already applied. My concern is how feasible is it they will accept a master's student over bachelor students for a master's program. Hard to say. Again, I don't have any experience in processing the applications myself, so it's difficult to say. However, I do know that it doesn't matter if you're a master's student. What the universities want is that they want to get as diverse and as high quality group of people into the university as possible. So they're not only looking at who is the best academically, they're also looking at diversity, the aspirations of the students, what they want to do, why they want to come to Finland. Of course, many universities in Finland have a motivation to actually get people here so that they would stay in Finland as well. So absolutely, you do have chances of getting in, even though, and especially since you have a master's, because you know, of course, you can think about the question, like you posted it here, is from the perspective, well, can I get in instead of a bachelor's? How can I get in instead of a bachelor student? Because I already have a master's. Like you're setting yourself up, in a disadvantage when you're talking about this topic like this. However, how I would be looking at this is that you're actually in an advantaged position because you already have more prior academic experience. And if I would be processing applications, that would be very interesting to me. Again, I don't have any personal experience here. I have done recruitments, so that's a different thing. But absolutely, yes, you have chances. Relax, enjoy the ride, and let me know what happens when you get the results. But yeah, I'm positive about it. Anyways, the next question comes from Jidintra, Jidintra. Is it with a J like J, English J, or Yi like ja, or ya, or ja? Jidintra or Jidintra. Just let me know in the chat. Sorry for not knowing how to pronounce your name. Anyways, Jidintra comes from India and is applying for a master's at Aalto University in machine learning. Awesome. And the question is, how difficult is it to find a job in machine learning and data science after doing a master's at Aalto University? Okay, before I go ahead of myself, I'll just read the question and then I'll let you know. Is Finnish language would Finnish language or speaking Finnish be mandatory requirement for jobs? Is yes. If yes, then at what level should I be with Finnish language in order to get a job? All right. First of all, speaking Finnish is not mandatory at all in Finland, especially if you're working in the technology field, IT, anything like this. Most of the companies in Finland working in IT, software development, machine learning, data sciences, they're all international corporations or scale-ups, startups, growth companies. No, you do not need Finnish. It's always better to learn some Finnish, not because of the job, but because you will be able to integrate into the society a bit better. You will have you will have a better time. You will be able to communicate with people better, and you will understand a lot of inside jokes. So you're going to have a better experience in Finland if you know at least some basic Finnish. The best way to do this is if and when you get admitted to study in Finland, actually take as many Finnish language courses in school as possible. A couple of reasons for this. Number one, they're free. Well, they are included in your tuition fee. Second, you have the best teachers in the world to teach Finnish, the university professors or lecturers. Three, you actually have a lot of peer support because you will have a class full of international students trying to learn the same thing. So, it's easier to learn. And then four, you can actually put those credits from those courses towards your degree. So you will actually progress in your studies by learning Finnish. Good. Now to your question, how difficult is it to find a job in machine learning and data science after doing a master's at Aalto University? Dude, if you don't get a job after doing a degree in machine learning, there's something really badly wrong. So machine learning and, AI and all this kind of stuff, especially, big data, it's such an important part. There's a massive boom in this industry and people are basically sucked from school into the work life even before they graduate. So of course, disclaimer here, every single time when I say that, of course, you will find a job or it's going to be easy for you to find a job, you have to keep in mind that every single this always depends on you, your personal capabilities of do well in school, be able to apply for jobs, understand how the Finnish application system or job market works, get through interviews, etc., etc. But absolutely, if you have a degree in machine learning, you will have excellent opportunities for doing a great career in Finland and also abroad. So I would not be worried at all. They're paid really well. Many machine learning professionals. So yeah. Anyways, the next question comes from Mr. G again. Awesome. And the question is, I have a GPA of 2.9. On what scale is my question? Anyways, the question, how does this compare to the Finnish grading system? And do you know if that GPA is enough for admission to university? I have credits from a community college in the US, almost enough for an associate's degree. Awesome. Will Finland recognize these credits and can I use them towards my degree? No. The answer to this question, I do know. You will not be able to transfer those credits into your university degree. There might be, one exception in the country. Please prove me wrong. But basically, okay, I'll give this example. If you study at Aalto University and you do a degree in computer sciences, but then if you start your studies in the University of Oulu and you study IT or software development there, and then you reapply to Aalto University and you get there the next year, but you have already done like half a year worth of studies at Oulu University, which is another Finnish university. even that doesn't work, because many of the universities in Finland are extremely strict about credit transfers. So many universities like Aalto University, they are super strict about not letting you transfer any credits from any other school. Some do, some are more flexible about this, but some are very strict because they want you to basically adhere to their level of education or their curriculum, basically. So no, you will not be able to transfer your credits to your degree. However, having those credits from the community college is definitely going to help you in your application, if and when you apply. That's at least my, my gut feeling. Again, not pure fact, but a gut feeling. About the GPA, it's hard for me to say. I don't remember the American scale. Especially depends. I guess that would depend on the school and the state, I guess. So let me know. Let me know in the chat, what is the scale for credits? I'm sorry. What is the scale in the US that you use? Because we use 0 to 5. 0 is failed, and 5 is the best. 3 being, of course, average or median, basically. If you scale, if you grade on a scale curve. If you grade on a curve. But yeah, hard to say whether or not 2.9 is good enough, because I don't have enough context. All right. The next question comes from Khan from Vietnam, and Khan is applying to study a bachelor's in technology at Aalto University in the next application period. And the question is, when does the academic year start and end at Aalto University? When can I have a vacation? Great question. I have a video about this on the channel, but I'll just briefly summarize this for you right now. If you want to look for the video where I explain the entire academic year in Finland, go to the channel and search for academic year, and you should find the video. I go through the whole topic in a lot of detail. I talk about all the different holidays, the periods, the academic year, how it's constructed and such. The academic year at the University of Aalto University, as well as most other universities, starts on the 1st of September. This is a bit different if you apply for a University of Applied Sciences, which usually start their academic year a bit earlier, usually late August or mid-August. So there's a couple of weeks of difference usually. However, at Aalto University, when you start there as a new student, a fresher, either a bachelor's or master's, your school will basically start a week before everyone else with a how do you say, with a what is it? Orientation week, right? So you're going to start your studies a week before. Basically, the classes start at the same time in September on the first week. However, you will have an orientation week during which you will go through all the practicalities, IT systems, building your own personal study plan, curricula, etc. with your personal tutor. And of course, during the orientation week is famous for being very party heavy. Of course, COVID messed up everything this year, but so September 1st, basically starting the school starts. The autumn semester is divided into 2 different periods, which are both 6 weeks long, plus 1 week for exams, after each of the periods. Usually, Christmas holidays in Finland, in terms of universities, start around a week before Christmas-ish. Depends on your exams when they are. When they're scheduled. But usually a week before Christmas, you will get on your holidays. And university holidays last until the start of the second week in January. So it's actually a really long holiday, almost a month-long holiday, which is really nice. Then the spring term, we have 3 periods. So again, 6 weeks plus 1 week for exams. And that lasts until the end of, I think, depending a bit on the course, but I think that usually it ends in the, at the end of May. Some courses might also go a bit over, a bit towards June as well, but that's a bit more rare. And then we will have a summer holiday, which is from that moment. So basically from the start of June all the way until the end of August. Of course, again, if you study at a University of Applied Sciences, your summer holiday will be between the beginning of June and then mid-August or something like this. So we have almost a 3-month-long summer holiday, which is awesome. You can either work, do a summer job, do an internship, you can just have a holiday, travel, whatever you want. No one cares what you do. It's all up to you. What's up, the Conceptus? Thank you so much. Conspectus, thanks so much for the super chat. I'm not quite sure how to how to transfer, how to change the currency. So, but that's 40 monies. Thank you very much. That goes into my coffee fund, that I apparently need a lot. The question is, want to be a teacher? Do I know how? All right, Conspectus, would you please write the question in a bit of a longer format in the chat, and I will be able to answer your question. You've shortened everything so heavily that I'm not completely sure what you mean. I know that you're talking about a master's in English literature, and you want to become a teacher, and maybe the question is about how. But just write the question in a longer format in the chat. I will get back to it right away. The next question comes from, again, from Mr. G. And the question is, if all I have is my high school diploma for my college application for business, would it be worth my application to have letters of recommendations from my employers as an assistant manager, or will these not make a difference? Great question. No worry, Conspectus. Just let me know when you have the question there. I'll get back to it right away. I appreciate the super chat. That's great question. So about letters of recommendations for a bachelor's degree, depends on the school. So some universities actually do not allow you to submit any extra documents in addition to what they require from you. So this would mean that there's not going to be any extra points basically from a letter of recommendation. So this means that you will most likely be this basically means that you are going to be limited to your prior academic success, as well as then for example your CV or motivation letter if you need to write one. For example, if you want to study a bachelor's in business in any of the universities in Helsinki, you might have to take the SATs, and that is going to be the heaviest weighted grade or a thing in your application. Yevgeny is saying that the amount of symbols is limited in super chats. Darn. Okay, good to know. I will check the settings whether I can change that. But anyways, the Conspectus saying, I want to be a teacher and I have a life. Currently have a master's in English literature and doing a just a moment, doing a business education and aspiring to be a teacher. Awesome. Cool. That sounds really, really awesome. So basically, I highly recommend that you come to Finland to teach. The question about what do you actually need to become a teacher in Finland is a good one. I'm not completely sure. It depends on what kind of a teacher you want to become, because in Finland, basically, if you want to be a class teacher in primary schools, high schools, middle schools, you basically need a master's degree in education. You do have that, so basically I think you might be eligible to apply for teachers positions. What kind of okay, so you have a master's in English literature and you're now doing a bachelor's in education. Cool. All right, awesome. In that case, if you want to become a teacher, then I would advise you to look up different master's programs in education. Of course, depending on what kind of education you want to do. So let me have a master's. Just a moment. A teacher in middle school. All right. Just a moment. Just a moment. That's a really good question. That I don't have an answer to right now. The reason being that becoming a teacher in Finland is somewhat regulated in Finland, meaning that you need to have a specific certification, basically. I have to check this. So okay, let's do it this way, because I will get completely stuck with this question. Let's do it this way. Actually, reach out to me on the Discord. So if you're not yet a member of the server, there's a link below. Send me a DM on Discord, or if I don't reply to you quickly, just tag me on any of the channels. For example, the admission channel. Tag me there. I will accept your DM, and then I will look into this a bit later. I might have to actually call to the Ministry of Education to check this, because I'm not completely sure how this works. And I know that it's a bit quite regulated. So yeah. All right. I think this is the best way to do. Send me a message on the Discord. I will get back to this later, and I will get you the correct answer to this by doing a bit of background research. Well, you can do it on. You can reach out to me on Instagram as well. But I'm not checking my Instagram messages in before 2 weeks, because I'm focusing so heavily on my master's degree that I need to have done by the end of next week. So the fastest way to do this is via Discord. I have maybe like 100 messages waiting on Instagram already in the queue. So they will be missed if your message will be in the midst of all of that. So I cannot get back to you on Instagram fast. So easiest way to do this is on Discord, or just send me write a comment in any of my videos, the exact same question, and I will get back to you in the video comments as well, because I read all the comments on my YouTube videos. But yeah, I have to get back to this, because I don't have the information. I need to do some calls and check this. Cool. Anyways, the next question in the forum comes from Yara from Iran, and Yara is applying to study a PhD in computer sciences. And the question is, hi, what is the average income of PhD students in Finland? However, do we have a permission to work alongside the university? Great questions. The average income of PhD students in Finland is a very hard question, because basically your income is the grants that you are given to your research itself. So being a PhD student in Finland is basically considered as a job. And this means that you need to fund your research yourself, mostly. The university might be able to help you to some extent, depending on the research that you're doing. If it's extremely lucrative, I guess they might be able to help you a bit more on this. But for example, in my brother's case, who is doing his PhD in biology, he has had to basically apply for funding from different non-profits, funds, what are these? Foundations for a year or two at a time, and this is the way that he has been funding his research, basically paying himself salary. So of course he studies biology, so he has to use the lab as well, and I'm not sure if he has any costs from there, but he's basically paying himself salary with those grants that he's applying for. So your income is mostly going to be out of the grants. And then about the permission to work alongside the university, this actually depends on the university itself. So some universities do allow it, some don't. The reason for this is that, for example, if a university finances you a bit more than other universities in terms of your PhD, they usually do not want you to work at the same time because that time is out of your PhD studies, right? Because you have to prioritize your time. So you have to check this from the university website themselves. They usually have, this is such a common question that they usually have some kind of a PhD FAQ section, frequently asked questions. And they will have a question there, can I work alongside my studies? In my brother's case, he has been doing work alongside his studies. But I do know cases where, for example, an old colleague of mine, who I used to work with at the same at my previous employer. She was actually looking to apply for a PhD at Aalto University, and she was told that she cannot apply for a PhD there, or she can, but she will not be accepted before she is able to work on the PhD full time. But because she didn't want to quit her job because it was a good job, she actually did not apply for a PhD there. So depends on the university. Check it out. If you don't find a answer at a certain university website on the FAQ section, send them a message. Usually emails are the fastest way to do it. Yes, no, I haven't yet checked the DMs. Everyone who has sent me DMs on Discord, I have still quite a bit of bunch of questions in the queue because there's so many questions coming in. So if you have a question that is not very personal that you want me to answer as fast as possible, please post your questions in the Discord server on the public channels because I go through them first. And then I prioritize the DMs after that. And I already have quite a bit of work with the videos and the public channels. So, Rodrigo asking how many Finns speak Swedish. Hard to say. Swedish is a mandatory language in school, in primary and middle school in Finland. But for example, I used to speak fluent Swedish when I was 15, 16. I don't anymore because I don't use it, anywhere. Some people do speak Swedish as their mother tongue. So basically they're half Swedish, half Finnish, or as we call them, Finnish Swedes or Swedish Finns. And they basically have Swedish roots of some kind. Basically when you're in Finland, you can see all, public, websites, information on the street, both in Finnish and in Swedish. Anyways, the next question comes from Sotrik Banerjee. And the question is, Sotrik comes from India and has not yet decided whether or not he wants to study in Finland, but is interested in doing a master's in English literature. And the question is, I want to study and teach in Finland. I'm also thinking about financing. Right. Oh, okay. So this was actually your question. Cool. Getting a scholarship, is it easy or like... And also thinking about financing. Trying to get a scholarship, is it easy or considerably available for Indian students? So basically, is it easy to get a scholarship for Indian students to do a master's degree in Finland? It's not any easier for Indian students to get a scholarship in Finland compared to any other nation, unless your country specifically has, country-specific scholarships for studying in Finland. Then you might have a better chance of getting a. I actually got it. So yes, you are Sotrik. I made the connection. So cool. University scholarships that Finnish universities grant, they are not specified on a country basis. So they are no country is emphasized more in terms of scholarships in Finland than the other. However, if you want to increase your chances, then you might have to look for scholarships in India. For example, look at the Ministry of Education in your country, or maybe foundations in your country that might grant scholarships for specifically Indian students studying in Finland. But getting a scholarship for a master's degree is not easy. You really need to have good background, basically academic record. If you need to If you need to write a motivation letter or CV, that means that you need to have some kind of work experience, most likely. And then it's, up to the university to decide who is the best candidate to get a scholarship. Anyways, the next question comes from, again, Fleischmann. Yes. And the question is, what do you think are the main pros and cons of Aalto University? That's a great question. By the way, not sponsored at all. I just like the hoodie. So the biggest pros about Aalto University, in my mind, are actually, this is a bit of a cliche, but the campus is awesome. The Otaniemi campus is really, really nice. And it's very well connected. So you can get there by bus, by tram, in the future by tram, but also directly using the metro. So the metro line actually goes under the campus, and you can actually get into the campus building through the metro, which is really awesome. Makes traveling through the campus really, really quick. I would say, so campus is number one. Within the campus, of course, there's a couple of other cool things. First of all, there's almost 12,000 students there, so it's a really kind of communal feeling place. It's a big campus, but there's a lot of people there as well. But because there's a lot of people there as well, and the Finnish student culture is extremely active. People volunteer in different kind of student groups, clubs, etc. And we have a lot of different events, not just drinking and partying, but other type of events as well, sports, you name it. And of course, since we have 12,000 students in one campus, it's going to be extremely active place. So there's always something happening at the campus. So that's really cool. Second, I would say that the interdisciplinary studies, that's really awesome. So because Aalto University is basically, it has a school of technology, then a school of arts and design, and then the school of business. And actually the school of technology is split into 3 or 4 different schools: chemistry, basic science, and then something else, I don't remember. But basically we have students of technology, business, and arts and design in the same campus, which means that you have so many different places and moments where you actually mingle with other students from other fields. It's awesome. For example, earlier, I think the Aalto University School of Business used to actually reside in Helsinki, in the middle of Helsinki. So it was we had a separate campus, and I studied most of my studies there in the separate campus. And I never spoke to a single arts student or technology student before we went to the new campus in Otaniemi. So it's a completely new experience. It also means that we have a lot of courses and, for example, quite a bunch of minor studies, which are, half a year long course combinations that are completely interdisciplinary, where you can actually study. As a business student, you can study some courses with design, technology, and then technology students would actually, study some business and design, etc. I think those are extremely valuable. I took one of them for my minor in my bachelor's, and I loved it. So that's 2. Then about the campus, I think the actual facilities and the infrastructure is really awesome. There's, of course, because we have the School of Technology and the School of Arts, they have all kinds of really cool workshops and tools and this kind of stuff that business students would never have access to. Because if you're a student, you can actually access, for example, the 3D printing labs, the metal wood workshops, the garment workshops, whatever. And as long as you have being instructed by a professor or a workshop manager how to use the different tools, you can actually use them as a student, which is really nice, because then as a business student, you can, for example, start working on some kind of a prototype if you like to work with your hands and so on. Then I would say that one of the things that I do find really, really awesome about Aalto University is the startup culture there. So not to go too deep into this, basically Finland is becoming the #1 startup hub in Europe. So around 10 years ago, actually Aalto University students started this event called Slush, which is an annual startup event held in November. And it has grown in around 10 years, it has grown into the leading startup event in the entire world. And every single year we get 11,000 people into Finland, startups, finance, investors, members of media. And that has exploded into other events, organizations. And that means that if you want to become an entrepreneur and set up a startup, Aalto University is the best way to do that, best place for that. Cons, it's not easy to get in. That's one. Aalto University is one of the most difficult universities in Finland to get actually admitted to. So that's of course one. Sometimes there's a bit too much bureaucracy, I would say. Usually the systems at Aalto University work really, really well. For example, how courses and the digital systems are set up, especially compared to many other schools, they work really well. But sometimes there's a bit too much bureaucracy in the way. For example, if you want to take like interdisciplinary studies. What else? That's a really good question. It's a tough question. Negative. I will actually come back to this if I come up with something so that I can actually answer other questions as well. But good question. I will try to think about other cons because there are some, definitely. But I just can't think of them right now. Anyway. Oh, by the way, guys, just again to let everyone know, if you just joined us, and if this is the first time you're visiting this kind of live streams, if you have a question that you would like me to answer live, please post your question into the Google form that I have linked in the description box below. If you post your question into the live chat, I am going to miss your question. There's already a bunch of questions here, so it's going to take me time to go through them. For example, Camilla, it's going to take some time, so please be patient. I will try to get through every single question, but post your questions in the Google form. The next question comes from Juan Vasquez, who's from Mexico, and applying to study a master's in computer science and engineering at the University of Oulu. Awesome. And the question is, I already submitted my application at Study Info. Awesome. Good luck to you. I hope that you are going to be admitted. At what point should I apply for PSOAS? Basically, the PSOAS is one of the student apartment providers in the Oulu region. So at what point should I apply for PSOAS apartments? Do I need to wait until I have the residence permit? Most likely not. Let me check, because this depends on each apartment provider. Just let me check. Just a moment. Right, so I'm looking for, when are you allowed to apply? All right, they do not tell you about about when you can actually apply for the apartment. So I'm going to assume that you can apply for their apartments the second that you are admitted. So the second that you get your admission letter, then you should be able to apply for PSOAS apartments. I'm not completely sure. A quick check, I didn't find the answer, but that would be my guess. That's how this usually works with most student apartment providers. So the second that you get the admission letter, you can apply, and you should apply. You don't have to wait for your residence permit, because that is going to take a long time depending on your country and the embassies, etc. And PSOAS doesn't necessarily, they don't care about it. Rather, they just need to know that you have been admitted to study in Finland. So yeah. Cool. The next question comes from Camilla. Camilla from Sri Lanka. And Camilla is already studying in Finland, a bachelor's in business at a school. I don't know where. And the question is, I hope to come with my wife for her higher studies. If I came as an dependent, can we survive there? Can we find part-time jobs? All right. So if you come here to work, or if you come to live here in Finland as a partner, so basically your spouse, wife or husband is studying in Finland and you want to move into Finland with him or her, applies to every single person. You have to have the financial funds to live here without depending on her or him, right? In addition, if you move into Finland from outside the European Union, you basically either you need to have the funds to actually move here, or you need to have the grounds to move here, or you need to have a job. So, just a moment. I will show this. Just a moment. There you go. All right. So what I would recommend you to do is to go to the Finnish Immigration Services website, migri.fi, and come here to moving to Finland to be with a family member. So if you have a family member who lives in Finland and you want to move in to live with him or her, you need a residence permit on the basis of family ties. If you do not have a residence permit, you can visit Finland and stay for a maximum of 90 days. All relatives cannot act as, a requirement for getting a residence permit is that you must lead a family life with the sponsor, so you have to basically live with him or her, so you cannot live separate. In most cases, you must be able to secure your own means of support. You must have sufficient funds for you and your family to live in Finland. Your income can come from, for example, from employment, a private enterprise, assets, or pensions. The required amounts of income depends on the size of your family. Not everyone who applies for a residence permit on the basis of family ties is required to have secure means of support. Basically, if you move here with your wife who is going to study here, you will need to have sufficient financial funds to actually live here without relying on her or relying on the social safety net in Finland. So basically that means that you have to have enough money on your bank account, or you need to have a job. And to your question about can we find part-time jobs? So if your wife is coming to do a bachelor's degree in Finland, specifically in business studies, she will not be able to find a part-time job immediately after coming here. And she will most likely not be able to secure a well-paying job in her field before she has done 1 or 2 years of her studies. In addition, she is not actually allowed to in addition, you have to take into account that she's only allowed to work for 25 hours per week in Finland as a international student. So that means that you will need to find a full-time job here, and that might be difficult, might not be difficult, depends on your background. Anyways, the next question comes from Kurel Suk. Again from Mongolia, and the question is, how is the housing problem of students international, and do universities offer accommodation? For example, how did you manage your accommodation? No, universities in Finland do not offer any kind of accommodation to students at all. That doesn't work. It doesn't work like that here. So universities have nothing to do with accommodation in Finland. Rather, accommodation for students is organized by different kind of organizations. Some of them are private businesses that actually rent student apartments for students specifically. Then there are non-profit organizations that are mostly owned by student organizations that have student apartments. And then there are student unions that have student apartments. So each university has a student union. So if you don't know what a union is basically a group of people, depending on the ties, that pursue the same agenda and try to better their, collective lives. Student unions in Finland own a huge amount of apartments in Finland, depending on the city, of course. For example, if you are going to do a bachelor's at Aalto University, which is in Helsinki, you can apply for Aalto University Student Union apartments. They own a bunch of apartments around the city of Helsinki, and they're really affordable. There's not enough apartments for everyone, which means that you need to apply for the apartments as soon as you know whether or not you have been admitted to study there. If you leave the apartment applications to even the last month, it is highly likely that you're not going to get a student apartment, and then you need to get an apartment from the private sector, which is fine, but you will have to be able to pay at least double the price that you would pay for a student apartment. Another provider is, for example, HOAS in the Helsinki region. There's a bunch of these kind of organizations around Finland. Just Google the city name and student apartments, and you will see which is the organization for that area. HOAS is actually a non-profit organization, and it's the biggest student apartment provider in the Helsinki capital region, and any university students can apply for their apartments in Helsinki. HOAS is actually owned by different student unions around Helsinki, for example, the Aalto University Student Union. And their apartments are extremely affordable, good quality, they're in good locations, etc. I have been living in HOAS apartments throughout my studies, so the entirety of my bachelor's and master's studies, and I applied to their apartments, as soon as I heard about my admission. So that's it. I have multiple videos on my channel about student apartments, what kind of apartments there are, how much they cost, how do you apply for them, etc. So go to the channel. Go to the channel and check out the playlist. I'll just show it to you really quickly. Come here to the channel and check out all the videos in this playlist, Student Apartments in Finland. I go through all the information that you need to know in this playlist. So check that out. Cool. Sakura, what's up? Welcome to the stream. Arjuna, hey, what is up? Welcome to the stream as well. Awesome to have you here as well. Awesome to have you guys. If you guys want any of your questions answered, I'm already starting to stutter. There's already a bunch of questions in the form. Arjuna, of course, yours will be prioritized as a member, so you can post your question in the chat. But Sakura, if you want your question answered live, please post the question right now, because I think that if not, I will not be able to go through your question during this stream. The next question comes from Yevgenia. Again, Yevgenia is from Lithuania and is already studying in Finland in the University of Lapland, doing a master's in tourism management. And the question is, Oliver, I don't know if this is an appropriate question, but it worries me a lot. What is the situation in Finland about foreigners' discrimination and racism? Today I was watching a well-known Finnish vlog, and there was an older person who was telling about his life at the Finnish television. And several times he had used the word ryssä. All right, so ryssä, for everyone who don't know what that means, it's basically a curse word for Russians. This dates back to the Second World War, and even further, because Finland used to be a part of Russia, and especially during the Second World War, when the Soviet Union tried to invade Finland, there was quite a lot of negative connotations, of course, and this word comes from there, and it's considered extremely rude. Anyways, he said the word and everyone was smiling and everything seemed to be okay. I'm so worried that we will deal with discrimination on the basis of non-Finnishness. What institutions protect people against discrimination, and is this kind of normal? It seems like a gap between how institutions try to attract migrants and the actual attitude of ordinary Finns. Thank you, and sorry if this is an inappropriate question. It's not an inappropriate question at all. It's a great question, it's an important question, and I'll try to answer it as best as I can. All right. So first of all, let's actually put this question about this word that I mentioned aside completely. This curse word for Russians is an old word. It is mostly used by the old generations who had to go through the Second World War. So, for example, our grandfathers and grandmothers had to move away from their home cities and towns to flee from the Soviet Union. So they have been extremely heavily traumatized about the events of the Second World War, and they have a built-in thought process or thought structure about, for example, many, especially the Russia. However, this does not apply in general to the younger generations. So we're talking about, anything, 70 and under. So my personal opinion is that there is no structural racism in Finland. Of course, there is racism and there's stupid people everywhere. But in Finland, in general, we are not racist, and especially the younger generations. We're talking about millennials and older. For example, my parents, who are now 50, 55 plus, their generation was already heavily internationalized. They went to do exchange studies when they were in high school, for example, in the US, and the generations since have been brought up extremely international, or in an international way. So there's always stupid people, there are always racist people everywhere, in every single country, and the problem is that usually those small examples are raised, especially in the news and internet discussions. But I would not say that this is a general problem at all. How this would be noticed during your day-to-day life is maybe someone looks you at in a nasty way, maybe someone says something not nice to you. But for example, discrimination based on multiple factors is illegal. For example, in work life, when recruiting, discrimination based on certain aspects, there's a big list, is actually illegal, and it is something that no company wants to be assimilated with. So my opinion is that you should not be worried at all, especially since I would say that the biggest amount of racism would be focused towards immigrants and who come here as many of them come here as asylum seekers, because many of these racist idiots who reside in Finland, as again in any other country, their usual argument is that these people are leeches and they come to our communities to leech on the social network that we paid for with our taxes, and they don't work, etc., etc. However, often this doesn't even hold true. Many of the people who complain actually never even work themselves, so they basically are just funneling their anger somewhere for someone else or towards someone else. However, in terms of, for example, you guys, I know that you guys are extremely highly educated. You would be coming to Finland to work, to pay taxes, to become a part of the society. So I would not worry about it at all. You will most likely create a circle of friends and people around you who are very international, and I don't think you will have any problems with this at all. Taking a bit time answering this question, it's an important question. So Orange Machine is raising a good point, saying, isn't there an article that I mentioned that said that if you have a foreign last name, then you might face discrimination in the workforce or in the job market? Yes, that is true, and I did make a video about this. However, what people don't get is or what the case was, basically there was a researcher who did a very good academic, wrote a really good academic article and actually had, good academic research behind it. And he basically sent a bunch of fake CVs to a bunch of employers for basic lower level jobs. And from there, he noticed that if and when he sent the same exact CV with a Finnish name and a foreign name, the Finnish named CV usual or person would have gotten the interview more times. So yes, this research noted that there is some kind of institutional racism was the word that he used, but basically bias is what he alluded to. However, what people don't take into account, and what people, for example, in the video comments don't take into account, and they fling around nasty comments about this, is the fact that this research was done on lower level, service level jobs that don't necessarily require a higher degree. In his research, he also said that he has not researched higher educated people on this matter, but he also said that he does not see any reason why this problem would not exist in higher paid positions as well. However, there's no proof of this as of yet, and I have not heard of any proof for any kind of racism or discrimination in the workforce or job market in especially in the kind of higher level jobs which you guys would be applying for because you are going to do a degree in Finland. So if you have a bachelor's and especially if you have a master's degree, you're not going to be applying for like cleaning jobs or basic level service jobs after you have graduated. So I think I might not have mentioned this kind of lower level jobs in the video well enough because people are still asking about it. But definitely true. The next question comes from Kurel Shuk again, and the question is, how is the grading system in Finland? Is attendance important and difficulties in any of the exams? Good questions. First of all, grading systems in Finland normally works from 0 to 5 in university level. It might depend a bit on the school, but usually it's from 0 to 5. 0 is fail, 1 is barely passed, and then 5 is the highest mark. And usually courses are graded on a scale, so not everyone is able to, on a curve, so not everyone is going to be able to get a 5 no matter what. Is the attendance important? Depends on the school and on the course. I would recommend that you attend as many classes as possible, simply because it's easier to learn that way. However, at university level, mandatory attendance on classes is less rare, or happens less than at University of Applied Sciences level. In universities of applied sciences, there's actually quite a lot of mandatory attendance because the classes are more hands-on sometimes. And at universities, basically the key basic rule here is that no one cares what you do as long as you pass your courses. That's like the basic rule. However, of course, there are also in the university level some courses that have mandatory attendance, and you will not pass the course if you don't attend the classes. Exams, how difficult they are, depends on the course. In Finland, what is really important to know, or the most important thing to know about especially university level exams, is that our system is more based on understanding the concepts and principles behind everything that has been taught, rather than learning a bunch of facts by heart, right? So, for example, if you study for a management consultant course or like a software development course, don't just read the book, learn the book by heart. You need to learn how to understand the concepts behind them. And because many of the assignments, especially in master's level, on the master's level and later in bachelor's as well, like second, third year, they are more applied questions. So you need to apply your information rather than just, we usually never have multiple choice. Or most of the multiple choice questions, if we have them, they're on early bachelor's level, basically. Roy Rissanen, what's up? Awesome to have you here as well. Really actually great to have you here as well. I would love to hear your opinion on some of the topics as well, if you have anything to where you can actually pitch in. Welcome. Yeah, I'm actually getting a bit tired, but let me get a bit water. Cool. All right, we've gone already through a bunch of questions. Anyways, let's continue. The next question comes from Turjo, again from India, and he's applying to do a master's in computer sciences at Aalto University. And the question is, most universities offer a language course in Finnish as part of the curriculum. However, do you recommend any apps or website courses to learn Finnish for beginners? Yes, I do. I have a video about this that I recommend you to check out, because I also have links to those tools as well. Let me show you. All right, so I have a video called best free online tools to learn Finnish before moving to Finland. This I highly recommend to watch, because there's a bunch of really cool tools that are, again, free. I posted the video in the chat. Excuse me. I recommend you to check that out. However, if I go through a couple of the tools right here, first of them is called the Introductory Finnish, which is actually managed by Aalto University. Actually, if I just show you this. All right, so the introductory, what is it called? Introductory Finnish, which is done by Aalto University. It's actually a free online course that anyone can do, regardless whether or not you're Aalto University student. So this I highly recommend. It's a really good course to get started. The second one is A Taste of Finnish, which is actually done by the University of Helsinki. Again, it's not a course per se, but there's a lot of grammar, Finnish language basics, links to good resources. And, you can cover a lot of topics with this, and there's already quite many hours of stuff here that you can learn from here. So these would be the first tools that I would start with if I were you guys, because these are free and these are actually set up by the universities themselves, so they're very high quality. But then on top of these, once you have come to Finland, I simply recommend that you take as many Finnish language courses into your curriculum or personal study plan as possible. Again, 4 reasons. 1, it's free / included in your tuition fee. Best teachers in the world. You all have peer support because you have other students in the same position as well. And then 4, you can actually include those into your degree. So you learn Finnish while you also do your degree. Or, I'm sorry. You actually get credits from those Finnish language courses towards your degree. So you basically go forward in your studies while actually learning the language. So Yevgenia saying that I'm studying the Taste of Finnish at the moment. By the way, it's quite good. Yeah, so it's very basic, but I think it's very well done. Yevgenia asking, where's my brown mug? Where's my pint? I actually have a second pint of water. It's not Guinness. Disclaimer. That's my reserve water. But yeah, those would be the 2 tools that I would use. I would not pay for Finnish language courses especially before you come to Finland, because you have so many free tools that you can use before that. Yevgeny also saying that XAMK, University of Applied Sciences, has free Finnish language courses in its open university. Cool. I actually remember you spoke about this one time. If you would be so nice, would you actually be able to link the Open University page to the chat so that people can actually check it out? Once again, guys, if you are just joining us, welcome. During these live streams, we talk about studying, living, and working in Finland. And if you have any questions that you would like me to answer live, please post your question into the Google form below. And that way I will be able to answer all questions in a first come, first serve basis. Also, we are currently in 29 likes. Awesome. I think the next goal could be 40 likes before the end of the stream. It would be awesome if you're getting value out of this stream and the content on the channel that you smash the like button so that we get to 40 likes. The next question comes again from Mr. G. And the question is, after trying to apply for apply to study in Finland through the Edunation website, I saw this message. Currently, the application is only open for European Union and European Economic Area students and students who have a residence permit in Finland. Do you know when the application period is open for non-European Union students? That's a good question. I think the problem you're encountering is specific to some kind of a degree. There are programs open for international students as well, outside the European Union. I don't know which program you're talking about. So what I would do is I would actually send the guys at Edunation a message about this. They will reply to you quite quickly, and just inquire from them when will the next application period be open, because I don't remember. Simply, I would need to go and check the specific program there. Cool. The next question comes from again, Mr. G. Would you recommend a non-European European Union citizen who speaks English with a master's in chemistry to relocate to Helsinki? Would it be logical, easy, manageable, i.e. job opportunities, good salary, ease of relocation with visa, and bureaucracy? Interesting, good question. So the answer depends a bit on whether or not you would be first come to study here, or would you be relocating here just for jobs. So absolutely you would have job opportunities with a master's in chemistry in Finland. For example, there's this the partly government-owned oil company called Neste, which is one of the leading biofuel research companies in the world, is located in Helsinki, or near to Helsinki, and they would definitely most likely be interested in your background. However, or the background if you were to have a master's in chemistry, and they would not require you to speak Finnish because it's a massive international corporation. In terms of relocating here, yes, that is easy. Living here, doing all the bureaucracy to move here is easy enough. However, where we, hit a bump and some issues is the visa. So you would definitely get a residence permit or visa to work here if you actually were able to get a job from the company or any of the companies. However, the visa process is just stupidly long. It's currently, I just read about this in the news like a week ago, and I actually made a video about this, or partly a video about this, is that the Finnish Immigration Service is actually being criticized really, really heavily by different corporations and companies in Finland because because the visa process for international talents, even with high degrees, is so freaking slow. It can take up to a year to get a visa, depending on your background and the company and how much effort they're willing to put into it. I don't know how the process works itself, but I've heard way too many negative things about it. So definitely, if you're you would be able to get a job here, because that's required for you to get a visa, then absolutely it's worth it. Just keep in mind that the visa process is absolutely ridiculous. On the other hand, you're from the States. I would say that vice versa as well, because I know that the visa process for the United States is ridiculously complicated as well. Not just referring to the previous administration, but in general. I have friends with master's degrees in hard sciences who have already had a job and or a job offer on the table, and it took them half a year to get a visa to the States, and ugh. So in general, absolutely yes, I would recommend it. Relocation here is easy-ish. However, the visa process is a pain. The next question comes from Fleischmann. Yes, once again. And the question is, you mentioned 2,000 euros a month is not realistic. Is 1,000 euros a month realistic then? So what he's referring to is that we spoke about earlier in the stream is that getting 2,000 euros after tax per month, on a part-time job, especially when you're a bachelor student or early in your studies, is not realistic. Because in one of my videos, I actually do the math, and if you want to get around 2,000 euros after tax, that means that your salary per month has to be pre-tax 3,200 euros, so 3,200 euros. Because and regarding or taking this into account, if you're not a European Union student, you can only work for 25 hours per week on average. This means that you can work for 100 hours per month, meaning that, do the math and count the taxes as well, you basically need a gross salary of 20 euros per hour pre-tax in order to get 2,000 euros after tax, to pay for example, for your tuition and rent. And that is not realistic if you're a bachelor student, no matter the field. 20 euros is way overkill. Many, depending on the field, you will get to 20 euros per hour or 3,200 euros per month only after, your bachelor's studies or bachelor's studies or something like this. Also in some fields, depending if you have like a bachelor's degree in nursing, or if you have if you work in a clothing store, the salaries might actually be even less, even if you have a degree. So no, 2,000 euros with a part-time job is not realistic at all. 1,000 euros, of course, that's completely different. Not only, but the problem here for the question is that I cannot simply just divide that by 2. So saying that 10 euros an hour, because you would have to take into account the taxes. Meaning that because you're doing half the money, basically, you're paying less taxes, but it's not proportional. So you getting half the salary doesn't mean that you pay half the taxes. It might actually be less, even less. But yeah, I think that 1,000 euros per month after taxes with a part-time job is possible. I would have to do the math on that, but depends on the job and depends on your background and what kind of a job you're looking for, etc. But definitely more realistic. However, again, then we have to take into account that if you are going to work for 25 hours a week, so basically as much as you are allowed to as a non-European Union student, you still have to work or you still have to do studies at the same time, and you have to get a certain amount of credits per academic year, or your visa will be revoked. So if you're a non-European Union student and you don't get at least, I think, 45 credits per academic year, your visa will not be continued. So you will be basically kicked out of the country because you're supposed to, study here, not work while you're studying. So 1,000 euros, more realistic. Yes. The next question comes from Giovanni from Italy, and Giovanni is already studying in Finland at Aalto University, doing a master's in computer engineering, specifically human-computer interaction. Nice. That's cool. The question is, hi, do you have any suggestions to find an internship in Helsinki? Where to look other than LinkedIn? Any particular thing that Finnish recruiters look at? Should I say immediately that I'm searching for a master's? Great question. I hope that you are. Giovanni, actually, let me know if you're still live. I can show you a couple of companies that I actually just looked at today. And you could definitely look for, either for internships or simply just a part-time job, depending on your situation. One that comes into mind, Google actually has really good positions. I think today when I checked, they had like 10 open positions in Helsinki. Most of them were engineering positions, either software or embedded systems. But then there's a bunch of different IT companies that you could apply for jobs at, depending on in what stage of your studies you're in. So let me know if Giovanni, if you're still live in the chat, and I'll show you a couple of the websites. All right. So the next question comes from Mr. G. And saying that, referring back to a previous question, my 2.9 GPA in the USA is equivalent to a 3.0 in Finland. So 3 out of 5, basically. So the scale being 0 to 5 and 3 is exactly average. Do you think that I have good chances of getting admitted with just my high school diploma? If I have already taken my SATs and gotten a medium score, do I have the option to retake the SATs for a school in Helsinki? Also, under the proof of nationality requirements on edunation.co, it states, need a copy of a non-European Union passport and Finnish residence permit. Do I need to acquire a residence permit before applying, or will that come later once I get accepted to a school? Good question. First of all, yes, the resident permit application only comes after you have been admitted to a school, so don't worry about it when you apply. That's fine. Then you need a copy of your passport when you apply. That is a must, or you need to when you apply through Edunation, you need to have a copy of the passport. When you apply for through Study Info, then I think that you can you're also fine with just your passport number and your nationality and other personal information. But yeah, you need your passport. And about your grades, GPA, 3.0 is completely average. It's in the middle of median, basically. So I would say that you would need to do really well in your SATs in order to get admitted, depending on the school, of course. Whatever school you're applying to, it would depend. If you want to apply for for a bachelor's in business in Aalto University, they anyway are going to weigh the the SATs higher or more than the GPA. Giovanni, cool. I will get back to your question in just a second. I'll just finish this one. So if you already have done an SAT for a previous purpose in the States, and it's a medium score, I would redo it. You are allowed to redo it, and the school in Finland is going to only take into account the latest score, and you have to make sure that some universities require you to have done the SATs within a certain time period before, or if not, they basically become old scores and they're not accepted anymore. So I would redo the SATs. Again, giving a benchmark of how much you need, it's really hard. I know that Aalto University has a benchmark on their website, but you have to keep in mind that has been the minimum score on getting into Aalto University School of Business. So you would need to you would need to aim much higher just to make sure. But yeah, redo the SATs. I would say that would be the best way. All right. So Giovanni's question about the IT jobs. So there's a bunch of companies that I can recommend to you. So I actually just started scripting a video about different jobs in Finland, specifically in the IT field. So I went through this today. So one is Futurize. Futurize is one of the leading digitalization consultant companies in Finland. Basically what that means is that they do a lot of IT software development related stuff to their customers. They build products out of scratch, etc. I have a bunch of friends working here. They love it. It's one of the most highly regarded employers in Finland in the IT sector. Futurize, a really good company. Then Avidly is one. Avidly let's see. Hello. Avidly no. Oh, sorry. Whoops. Wrong. Never mind. Scratch that. Let's go back to the Futurize website. I have to check this really quickly. Just a moment. All right. Just a second. All right, I'm back. So let's see. Top 10 employers in the field of IT. Google, Supercell, which is a gaming company, Microsoft, then Futurize, and this is based on a survey that recruitment company in Finland did. Go4 is a really good one. These guys hire, people from all different development, branches of software development. So AI, machine learning, Java, full stack, front end, back end, etc. So if you look at the join the crew and, for example, open positions right now, cloud specialist, full stack, software architect, mobile developer, back end, front end, full stack, Java architect. So you can see that they're all over the place. And for example, in your case, your specialization is quite deep. So you would need to most likely write an open application. However, I think that these companies would be more than happy to at least talk to you. What else? I would say that, for example, Google would be a really good bet for you in this case, because they, for example, have internships. Then I would also recommend a company called Reactor.com. They are basically a consultants company that do a lot of technology-based products and services for their clients. It's one of the most, again, highly regarded IT employers in Finland. Really, really cool company. Let's see what they have right now. Right. All right. So, for example, for the summer, designers, technical advisors, senior software developers, lead technology consultants, technical leads, iOS, Android, DevOps engineer, and all of these would be then specialized in something else. For example, let's see, senior software engineer. Well, no specific background information required. But anyways, you get the gist. So there's a bunch of different companies. For example, if you just Google top IT employers or top IT companies in Finland, you can find a bunch of different really cool companies that all should be fine. In terms of internships, that's a more difficult question, because internships are usually specific programs that companies pre-plan ahead. And so internships might be a bit more difficult to find. What I would be looking for is a part-time job. That's more easy for you, because internships are not as common as, for example, just part-time jobs. Then in terms of any particular thing that Finnish recruiters look at, good question. They don't look only, on your, about your grades. They mostly care about your previous experience, and especially putting a lot of weight on your previous successes. So if you have been able to, if you have achieved something, for example, in your previous job, that is something very important. So many times when you're applying for a job, many companies still use like, okay, you have to have a minimum of 2 years of experience from this field. That is a bunch of BS. Many companies are actually moving away from that measurement, because that doesn't tell you anything, especially in the IT field. Because you can do 2 years of Java and suck at it really bad, but then you can do 2 years of Java or cloud computing or whatever, and you can be better at that than someone who has a degree plus 5 years of experience. If you're just if, for example, you're a hobbyist. So that year number doesn't tell you anything. So companies are mostly interested about your previous experience and what have you been able to achieve in those jobs. Then actually a couple other, or at least one other really good company called Talented. Talented is actually a recruitment company, so they actually help you find a job, and they are specifically for developers. So they're specialized in developers. I have a couple of friends working here, and Talented is a very, very, very good company. So basically, you can come here to talented.fi/en, and then for job seekers, and then you can actually apply for your own agent, and they will be able to help you find a job in Finland. Yeah, Talented is really good. Giovanni saying, I have already done some applications on the company you have mentioned. The problem is that they require a lot of work experience. That is true. That's actually why I recommend that you apply for through Talented, because they have a bunch of different kind of clients with different kind of background requirements. So I think that applying through a recruitment company like this might actually be much easier. And to your question, should I say immediately that I'm searching for like a master's internship? Again, I would not look for internships per se because they are quite rare in the IT field. Rather, just apply for a part-time job or a temporary job. Anyways, the next question comes from Mr. G, and oh, sorry, I got that already. Never mind. The next question comes from Joshua from England, the UK, and Joshua is a regular in the channel and is still in high school, but is interested in doing a degree in physics or social sciences in Helsinki, Tampere, or Oulu, so the cities. And the question is, currently in the UK and US, there's a big problem with the degree saturation. Almost half of the population has a bachelor's degree. So job applications rely heavily on extracurricular activities. Having a degree doesn't stand for a lot. How does this compare in Finland? Obviously, this will vary within the different industries. Really, really great question. And that is actually a very good point. I've actually been thinking about making a video with a title, do you even need a master's degree in 2021? The point, what I'm actually thinking about here is that especially with the huge amount of automation that is going to happen within the next 10 to 15 years, a huge amount of jobs that are practical, that are very hands-on, are going to be eliminated by automation. Most of the jobs that are not going to be eliminated that require a bachelor's degree are usually jobs like nursing or others where you actually need a physical person to do the job. For example, where you are in physical contact with the customer or a patient in this case. So those jobs are not going to go away because of automation, at least not most of them. However, jobs like accounting, basic legal stuff, basic financial stuff, marketing, a lot of marketing and basic business, jobs are already being automated and people are getting laid off, which means that the more automation happens in the future, the higher your education needs to be so that you can specialize into something more specific that cannot be automated. What this means is that in the future, having a master's or an MBA is going to be even more valuable than what it is right now. Not only because, it's a higher degree, but again, because of the automation question. So if you want to future-proof yourself against automation, against, as you mentioned here, a very good point, degree saturation, meaning that everyone has a bachelor's degree. That means that you need to do a higher degree, do a master's. I'm not saying that everyone needs to have a PhD, but this is, for example, a reason why Finnish university graduates are in high demand everywhere, because we have having a master's degree in Finland is it's really normal. I know that, for example, in the US, it's more normal to go to college and do a bachelor's, and that's fine. And then you will have a bachelor's degree in what? In intercultural, relations, whatever. The problem is, all right, let's skip that. However, specifically relating to your question about the saturation in the US and UK, this is actually a bit of a different thing in Finland, because the structure of the studies are completely different in Finland versus the UK and especially in the US. So what I mean is that if you look at, for example, bachelor's degrees, and let me see, just a moment. Where are you guys? Just a second, guys. Actually, yeah. So actually, Roy, if you're still online with your son, I would like to hear your opinion on this in the chat, because you guys are living in Canada. If I've understood that correctly, you guys are in Canada, right? Yeah, I think so. So anyways, so yeah, so the structure of the degrees in Finland and in the US are completely different. So if you, for example, compare bachelor's degrees in Finland to bachelor's or undergrad degrees in the UK, meaning college versus university degree, a bachelor's degree in Finland. Many college degrees in the US are basically just an additional year of high school in Finland. Meaning that in college you can do Swedish language courses, you can do, you don't really necessarily study for a degree. You don't necessarily study a specific topic. So if you, for example, do a bachelor's in IT, you might have some mathematics and some IT, but then you have like, chemistry or physics or cultural studies or mandatory psychology included into your bachelor's. I think that's completely insane. If you do a bachelor's, you should study your own field. So these kind of things don't exist in Finland at all. That's why we don't have college degrees. We have university degrees and we have University of Applied Sciences degrees. Usually in UASs, you only study a bachelor's and you study specifically for a field. So if you, for example, study a bachelor's degree in business in Finland, which would be equivalent to a college degree in like business or marketing, you don't have mandatory psychology or mandatory like cultural studies in Finland. You have language studies and then you have your specialization studies basically. So some math, and then you will have accounting, economics, finance. Then whether or not you specialize in finance or accounting, you will have more specialized courses. So this means that the degrees that we do in Finland are more concentrated. They're more specialized in their fields, and we don't have that kind of fluff that many of these college degrees have, for example, in the US. So this is the biggest difference, I would say, between the degrees that we do here and the degrees that you guys do, especially, well, not necessarily in the UK, but in the US. So I would say that having a bachelor's degree from Finland, unfortunately is more valuable than having a bachelor's from the US. This is simply my opinion, personal opinion. Yeah. But again, to your question about the degree saturation, do a higher degree. That is the best way. All right. Cool. I think it's 8 o'clock local time in Finland. We've already gone for 2.5 hours. I think that we should maybe end here. Orange Machine, is actually the Finnish school system is very much similar to what many Central European countries have. So absolutely, it's similar. But yeah, I think that we should end here. 2.5 hours. I'm sorry that I didn't get to all questions. There's so many of them. I simply cannot get to all of them today. But once again, thanks so much for joining us. If you guys are getting value what I'm doing here on the channel during these live streams and in the regular content, again, smash the like button. I would really appreciate it. That tells YouTube that these are actually bringing some value, and that would maybe give the streams a bit of a bump in the algorithm. In addition, if you're getting value out of this what I'm doing here, I would, of course, appreciate if you would consider joining as a channel member. Basically, you can click the join button below the video right there, and you will see the different perks that you will actually get of being a channel member. There is currently 4 different channel member levels, each of them giving you specific perks for supporting what I do here. Anyways, thanks again, guys, for all the great questions. I will start the next week's stream with some of the questions that I wasn't able to get into today. But before I end, I actually have to read what Roy said about community colleges in Canada. Community colleges here in Canada have some of the fluff more for the trade courses. Universities have some electives and then room for you to just pick up some other courses on the side. Right. All right. So that's a bit more similar similar to what we have here. And of course, again, please take into mind, no offense to the education system in the US or especially in the UK. It's a very different type of a system based on completely different assumptions and structure and plans. So there's no point of really comparing them, side by side. Because they're based on different systems, plus the whole financing system is completely different for them. So again, just my opinion regarding this question. Anyways, that's it for today. Thanks so much for joining us, guys, and I will see you next week on Thursday, 5:30 p.m. Eastern European time for the next live stream, and next Tuesday for the next weekly video.